Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to lesson 4 in the Su-25 Cadet series. Lesson 4 is about navigation, and we are going to learn how to navigate through a route from an airfield through the route and back to an airfield again. The key bindings you're going to need is navigation modes, next waypoint, airfield or target, previous waypoint, airfield or target. So we have started up or turned on the electrical power in our Su-25. We're going to check the theory here on the ground because it is much easier. When you start flying, there's a lot of things to keep track of. So the Su-25 has a analog navigation system, if you like. There are a lot of gauges and needles and lights and everything to keep track of. So when we start flying, I will not speak so much because I will be focusing on keeping my route. So therefore I'm checking the theory and what to look for here on the ground. The gauges you're going to look at is your ADI and especially the vertical and horizontal yellow lines. The horizontal yellow line tells me whether or not I'm below, above or at the briefed altitude. Right now it says that I'm below my briefed altitude, so I need to climb to reach that yellow line. When I reach my briefed altitude, that line will slowly descend and be horizontal. When that line is horizontal, I know that I'm at my briefed altitude. The vertical yellow line here is used for precise course navigation. This is a very precise way of navigating through your course. And you're going to look at your barometric altimeter and the radio altimeter. And you're going to need the HSI. On the HSI we have a course deviation needle. There's two needles on top of each other, so it can be a bit hard to see, but one of the needles have a little house symbol in one end and a taller house, a skyscraper symbol in the other end. The needle below it has a circle in one end and a dot at the other end. And you're going to need the range indicator that tells you how far there is to a steer point. And of course, your navigation panel. If we press once on the navigation mode, you can see that for a split second the top light here lit up. The first light here is your takeoff airfield. The second light is your landing airfield. And the third light is this system with all the other airfields in it. All the other airfields are saved in the system, and you can roll through them or select them according to a certain order. I do not remember the order, but there is a document that tells you which order the different airfields are in. Because I'm at my takeoff airfield, I'm so close to it, the navigation system automatically switched to the first waypoint. Oops. The first waypoint is the first lamp. Oops. Press next airfield to the waypoint 2, next airfield to waypoint 3, and I have set in a waypoint 4, but it does not show. the navigation system on the Su-25 is limited to only 3 waypoints plus takeoff waypoint, takeoff airfield, landing airfield, and all the other airfields. As you can see, none of the lights are lit. That can confuse a whole bunch because you don't know what are the system wanting me to go. So, and many people believe that, oh, the system is off, no lights are on, so the system is off. No, it is not. One way to verify that is on your range scale. It does say a range and it does count down when you're flying. And your HSI is also showing a direction. And if you notice, the course deviation needle is pointing that way and the bearing needle is pointing that way. The reason that those two needles are not pointing the same way is that, let's go back to our wonderful paint here, is that course direction and bearing direction is two very different directions. This is your airplane. Those black diamonds are waypoints and the red line is your course. The course is a briefed way to move from waypoint to waypoint to waypoint. My plane is here, and if I select bearing needle to waypoint 2, I will get a direct line, the shortest possible line to my selected waypoint. If I choose the course needle, it will show me the shortest possible way to intercept my course and then move up to my waypoint. So bearing is the shortest possible way, and course needle shows me the way to the course and then the course. Why would you fly the course and not directly to? Well, it could be that you need to follow the course to avoid air defenses, stay hidden, be part of a larger strike package. And for the command to easier control each strike package, and for top cover and caps not to confuse you with a enemy target, it is often used to fly a certain course and be at the waypoints at a certain time. So that is the difference between bearing and course and why you would use the difference. So now that, and one more thing. One more way to verify that I have selected waypoint 4, 5 or 6 is that on your ADI, if you have turned off your navigation system, it will show these two red markers. That shows that the navigation system is not active. It does not currently show you any way to any steer point or waypoints or anything. If you get lost in the number of waypoint 4, 5, 6 and so, just cycle through with the navigation mode, make sure you see the red markers. That means I'm in no task mode. The navigation mode or navigation system has 3 modes. It has route, return and landing, and now no task mode. No task mode is the fancy word for turned off. The route mode shows you which way to go to get to a certain steer point. The return mode you get to by pressing navigation mode once more, and then you see one of these two lights and that light. The last light is the return light. The reason that these two are lit at the same time is that the airport is the same airport. The takeoff airport and landing airport is the same. When one of these two or both are lit together with the return light, it means you are in return mode. Return mode is, if you take a look at the F10 map, is a point roughly 15 kilometers away from the airfield. It could be either this end or that end. Which end it is depends on the wind, which way the ATC wants you to come in from. So, why use the return mode? The return mode is used when you have finished your mission. You want to get back to prepare for landing. At the return mode, you have plenty of time, plenty of space, plenty of maneuvering space to line up to a good approach. If you select navigation directly to your airport, you have to get to the airport, then go around, line up, and then land. If you use the return point, you just go to a return point and then landing mode, which is this mode. The landing mode is the mode which one of these or both are lit, but not the return mode. This means the navigation system is in landing mode and they are guiding me in for landing. That is ILS mode if you want. So the point they are guiding you to, or the navigation system is guiding you to, is, if I remember correctly, is around here at the touchdown point on the runway. Sometimes it is the middle of the runway, sometimes it is in either end of the runway. So right now I'm in no task mode. I know that because everything has zeroed in and I see the red markers on the ADI. So I'm gonna start up. Whoops, I forgot to ask for permission. Well, they don't care. On here on the ground, I'm gonna take a look at where's my first waypoint. This is my route, so I know I need to take off and make a right turn and go toward Kobyleti. That I do know now, so oops. Let's talk to
Дружинник, сотый, запуск.
Batumi.
1:00. Дружинник. Запуск разрешаю.
Дружинник, сотый, руление.
Дружинник. Разрешаю руление на полосу 3-1.
I'm not using track IR because that is pretty confusing to use in these kind of lessons. So and I'm gonna follow the yellow taxi line to runway 31. I do not have any stores loaded, so I can take off from the initial point out here, and I don't have to taxi to the end of the runway. In my head I have already thought through the takeoff, and I'm thinking about the first steer point. And closing canopy. And we're gonna have a right turn.
Один, ноль, ноль. Взлет запрещаю. 1-0-0. Дружинник. Взлет по готовности. Отход по схеме на 300. По давлению 759,2,4.
Okay, I'm supposed to be at runway 31, and that is pretty much spot on, pretty much. So here, just before a run up, I press one time at the navigation button, and there you see that the takeoff airfield is selected now. I moved away from the point it measures from, so I have selected my takeoff airfield. I do not want that. I want to move to my first steer point, so select next waypoint. Voila, that is selected. That waypoint is roughly 42 kilometers away. I need to make a right turn towards 025, and according to the horizontal yellow line, I need to climb. I know that the first leg is at 500 meters, so instead of looking at that line, I'm looking at the barometric altimeter. It depends on who you are. Some people like to look at the altimeters instead of the yellow line. So take off. Wheels up, good rate of climb, flaps up, and I can ease on the throttle. Okay, right now I need to, I know that I need to make a right turn, so I'm gonna do that to roughly 025. As you see on the ADI, the vertical yellow line is almost at the center. It is a good help to align your aircraft with that yellow line, the aircraft symbol in there, because it tells you how much you need to roll to get to your route. And as you can see, the horizontal yellow line is coming down, and as you can see, my barometric baro altimeter, I'm at 500 feet now, 500 meters. So I know that I need to level out to stay at that altitude. And if you look at the HSI, I'm pointing directly to that steer point now. As you can see, on the HSI, the bearing needle and the course deviation needle is not aligned. It is because I am not directly on my course. If I need to go directly to my steer point, I need to follow my bearing, as we saw in the painting. If I want to follow my course, I need to follow this. And how do I know which way to go to be on the course and not directly to? Because the course deviation needle is to the left of my bearing needle, it means that I need to go to the right. It is much easier to understand if you say I am that course deviation needle. So if I'm here, I need to go to that needle. It is much easier to understand because then I'm here, I need to go to the right, instead of I'm here and I need to go to the left. So make it as simple as possible. I need to go to the right. When I see those two needles almost aligning, I need to go to the bearing needle. Otherwise I will be overflying the route. If you take a look at the F10, my course was from Batumi directly to Coppoletti, so I need to go a bit to the right, cut that, and then to Coppoletti. So slowly to the right, just a little bit, don't overdo it, just slowly, you have plenty of time. I'm a bit high, gonna descend a little bit. What's my speed? Almost at altitude, close to on my route, 520. This is also where trim helps a lot, because that can take a part of your workload off. As you see on the course deviation needle and my bearing needle, they are almost aligned now. If you see that there, they are almost aligned now. This is the time where I will turn to the left towards 028, let's say that. When those two are this close together, I'm gonna follow the bearing needle. And voila! Oops, a bit high. Boom! There you see the course deviation needle and the bearing needle is practically perfect. You can use the ADI for absolute precision. You can see I could go a little bit to the right, but this is a very precise way of doing it. Therefore, it can be a bit confusing. This is much easier to use also. So, and I know I'm at roughly 25 kilometers away from waypoint 1. Let's fly towards waypoint 1, and then you'll see that the system, the navigation system automatically changes to waypoint 2. All I have to do now is maintain correct altitude and direction. This way I'm following the briefed course to my waypoint. So this is actually very simple. You just have to pay attention. And as you can see, I'm descending too much, not paying enough attention because I have to speak also. So yes, a little bit to the left. Oh, I'm very low. We need to pay very much attention. Heading is good. Need to climb a bit. 14.5 kilometers. Altitude needle on the ADI is coming down. That is good. Almost there. Heading a bit to the right. 12 kilometers. Bit to the right. 10 kilometers. Climb a bit. Eight kilometers. Course is still very good. Up just 20 meters climb, 10 meters climb, level out. The closer you get to the steer point, the more active the needle on the edges eye will be. So you know, the closer you get, don't chase the needle because you're going to chase them forever, and you will just make. Oh, see, I'm descended a bit, and Kobaleti Airport. Here we are. And then look at the range. It's counting down. 500 meters. Boop, change to waypoint 2. No, steer point 2. So need to turn. And I need to descend now because now the altitude is now 500 AGL and not MSL. But let's try something. Let's try go way off course. Then you can see how we use the bearing needle, because now we learned how to use the course needle, how to get to a steer point by following a route. See, almost 900 kilometers per hour in these few seconds. She is a rather powerful lady with no ordnance on. As you can see now, on the HSI, the bearing needle this one is pointing directly to steer point 2. If I want to go to steer point 2 along the briefed route, I need to go to the left because I'm this one and I need to go to the left. But if I want to go directly to it, I'm the bearing needle and not the course deviation needle. So let's try go directly to steer point 2. So roughly 330. Whoops. brakes. And as you can see, the range to steer point 2 is dropping fast. And we're flying directly at it. When we reach waypoint 3, the navigation system will automatically change to the next waypoint. And power lines. Don't look for the power line itself, look for the mast. The mast is much easier to spot. And you know that if you are above the tip of the mast, you are clear of the wires. Six kilometers. And as you can see, I'm exactly at the briefed altitude. You can see on the ADI the yellow horizontal lines. So it is much easier to use it this way. If you don't remember which altitude you are briefed at, always look at the yellow horizontal line. That line represents the briefed altitude you must be at. Instead of looking at that, I'm just looking at the barometric altitude now, because let's say I'm at that line and the nearest logical number will be 100 meters. It is much easier for me to see 100 on the barometric altitude than at that yellow line. And I'm not looking at the radio altitude because it jumps too much up and down, up and down. That's why I use these three, but separately. That is a way to use your instruments very good and very efficient. So I'm just aiming for 100 meters now. And whoops, we passed the waypoint 2, now we change to waypoint 3. And if you want to intercept the route now, we know we need to go to the left. And let's try that. Waiting until the course deviation needle and the bearing needle intercepts. A little more to the left. Keep flying like this. Don't crash into the trees. Speed is good. The needles is slowly coming together. 11 kilometers. Height is good. Altitude is good. And slowly turning to the right to meet up when the needles meets up, and then follow the route. A bit too early, but you know, yeah. As long as you are just within a few kilometers, a kilometer or so, that's fine. 5 kilometers left, and I know I have placed some targets over here for the weapons training. Take a look at the navigation panel on the lights down there. When we reach waypoint steer point 3, all lights will be out, but the navigation panel and the navigation system will still be active. Whoops. See, the navigation panel, all the lights have turned on, but the navigation system is still on. We know that because the range is moving, the HSI is alive, and we have no red bars on the ADI. So we are flying at steer point 4 and we need to descend. I would say that the navigation lessons are the most comprehensive and most confusing part of the Su-25 correctly blah 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 lessons. It can actually be so simple that it's hard to use and understand. It's much easier to fly at a dot on the HUD, but even a child can do that. Here you need to use your head, your brain, your sensors, your eyes, ears, everything. That's why it's so satisfying to fly. You need to think to fly. Well, the altitude is a bit low for my taste. 3 kilometers, 2 kilometers, 1 kilometer. And what the navigation panel lights, whoop, automatically they change to the return point, and the return point is always at waypoint 2, your landing airport. So now we know just line up the needles, climb a bit, .42 kilometers left. And as we learned in the landing session, she likes to float, so always be early on the air brakes, and it's better to accelerate than trying to brake. The air brakes is not that good. And we still need to climb a bit. We need to come a bit to the right. 35 kilometers left. And almost at the altitude, I would say roughly 1800. Bit to the right, climb a bit, speed is good. This is where I think my trim is okay. I'm just using fingertip movement on the flight stick instead of trying to trim to perfection. That is almost impossible. So as you can see, the yellow line, horizontal line on the ADI is slowly coming down, and I'm slowly climbing, and I predict that at 1800 is where the briefed altitude is. So right now I'm not looking at the horizontal line anymore. I'm just looking at the barometric altimeter. I'm looking for 1800. A bit more to the right. You are plenty busy flying the Su-25. So when you get into combat, you simplify your navigation dramatically. We will have a lesson on that later. But you're not looking at anything. You're not looking at the dials or anything. You're just looking at go to the sea, go to the land, go along the beach, or anything very simplistic, because it is just too busy. Bit more to the right. Descend a bit. Speed is good. Navigation panel is good. Engine temperature is good. Engine is good. Fuel is good. Good. Whoop! Did you see that the horizontal line on the ADI dropped dramatically? It is because the system wants me to prepare for a approach for the landing. Just follow that, but don't descend nose down too quickly. You have plenty of time to have a proper approach for landing. Bit more to the right. Because I'm over water, I'm looking at the radio altimeter also, because you can measure distance over the water. See, the horizontal line on the ADI is coming up. That means, I would say, roughly at 1,000 meters. That is the briefed altitude. 2 kilometers. See, I'm just, yeah. Now, on the navigation panel, only the airfield lights are lit. That means you are now in landing mode. The navigation system is now preparing you or guiding you in for a land. If you are on VMC, as the Russian says it, visual meteorological conditions, or VFR, as they say in the West, as visual flight rules, you could just, you can see the airport, you can actually see the runway also. You would just fly visually. But let's try following the glide path and the systems, so we know how to use that. So according to the HSI, you need to turn to the left, and according to the ADI, you need to descend. And we know that the runways are 1-3. And why do we know that? Because we could remember that from the previous lessons.
1-0-0. Дружинник. Следуйте курсом 3-1-4. Удаление 3. Давление 7-5-9,2-4. Посадочный 1-3. Занимайте высоту круга.
And because he says runway 1-3, we know down here the compass, or the compass should be pointing at 1-3. When you are flying 1-3, you know you are flying directly one way heading. And let's just, and when the course deviation needle and bearing needle is exactly on top of each other, you know that you are completely lined up with the center of the runway. So even though we couldn't see anything, it was pitch black or foggy or anything, you could still land your plane. We are moving slowly into ILS territory here, and this is not the ILS lesson, so this is more than enough for the lesson here. So
1-0-0.
look at the ADI, we need to descend, and I'm gonna put on a bit of air brakes down to 400 kilometers per hour to extend my gear. Still need to descend a bit. Perfectly aligned. Look at the course deviation needle and bearing needle, they're perfectly aligned. And look out the windows, perfectly aligned. And see, even though I am at the idle throttle, air brakes out, I have a hard time getting below 400 kilometers per hour because she's just such a good glider. 400 kilometers per hour. And not full flaps yet.
1-0-0. Дружинник. Проверьте угол шасси. Посадочный. 1-3.
Full flaps. She will balloon, she will rise a bit, but that's okay. Take a look at the horizontal line, ADI, and my glide path. And remember that the pitot tube should be just below the horizon for the optimum angle of touchdown. So flaring. See, she's such a good floater, glider. Whoop. Sweet. Speed at 200. Apply brakes. Brake shoe. Easy on the throttle. Brake shoe is off. Release brakes.
1-0-0. Заруливайте на стоянку.
And that is how you use the navigation system through and through, from takeoff through a route, either directly to your steer point, a long brief route, and for landing. And remember, every landing you can walk away from is a good landing. So yes. Next lesson, I do not know if that will be the ILS lessons. Could be. I don't know that yet. But thank you for watching and happy landings.